Three, two, one. You're watching Artist on Record, your ultimate intimate conversation with your favorite artists. And if it's your first time here, make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit the bell to be notified so you don't miss any other episodes coming your way. Right now, we have sad breaking news. Earlier today, I just heard on the news, on the internet, today, September 7th, Sha Na Na singer Screamin Scott Simon has passed away at the age of 75 years old. His daughter, Nina Simon, just announced it on Friday. Nina said her dad passed away of sinus cancer Thursday. Scott, he toured with Sha Na Na, the legendary doo-wop cover band, for more than 50 years, wrapping up in 2022. The band, as you recall, you remember the TV show, they had all these great stars in there, from the Ramones to Chuck Berry. But in 1969, it all started for them at Woodstock. And then you remember Sha Na Na in 1978, Grease, the band Johnny Casino and the Gamblers. Scott did write the song Sandy. Which he co-wrote with Louis St. Louis, the song that John Travolta sang in the movie Grease. Anyway, a few years back when I first started doing our podcast on our sister channel, Coffee Talk, I had the opportunity to interview Scott Simon. It's one of my earliest shows. Here's a clip of that, about 15 to 20 minutes. I'm going to share with you guys here on Artist on Record, and I will upload the full version of it. I'll put it on Patreon, and I'll put some more clips of my conversation with Scott. It's a conversation with my former co-host Corey and Miranda. It's a fun conversation. It's really funny. I hope you enjoyed. In the meantime, Scott Simon, Screamin Scott Simon, thank you for the good music and the memories of Sha Na Na. What can I say? You're a part of my childhood memories. I grew up listening to Sha Na Na. Loved the show, loved the band, and Scott, loved you. Thank you again. I hope everybody watching enjoys this interview with Scott. Here it goes. It all starts now. Roll it. No. You guys did a great version of Remember Then. Great. I had that on.
That was a Glee Club. Again, that first album, you could really hear the Glee Club in these guys singing 4-part harmony very precisely. There was nothing greasy about that album.
No.
It was very kind of, it was not a big hit. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
And then Whitkin left my chair open, and I auditioned and got in April of 70. And the composition changed from students to, he was a pre-med guy going to medical school. The next guy was the guy that sang At the Hop in the Woodstock movie, Alan Cooper, went to the Jewish Theological Seminary, grad school. All these guys went to grad school. Bruno, the bass player, PhD in English, teaching to statistics there. Look up the original Sha Na Na members who were at Woodstock. They have the most graduate degrees of any rock and roll group in the history of rock and roll. They were Columbia students. They were Ivy Leaguers. So were we, but we had no idea what we were going to do with our futures except want to be musicians.
Yeah.
So we became musicians and entertainers. And then they'd fall away. The bald Elvis, Scott Powell, his group name was Tony Santini. Called us up after 1980. The TV show was now out of production. Said, I'm going to go become a eye surgeon or something. I mean, no, he became a trainer, osteopath. Curlin Job hired him, and he trained the women's gold medal winning soccer team in 1996. Scott, also known as Tony Santini, became a Dr. Scott Powell.
Wow. That's pretty cool. That's pretty good. Picture that,
I feel like this is a seance, and we're trying to summon Jocko, and we're almost...
You're missing the whole show, Corey. You really are.
I'm not going to go...
Scott has the best stories here. You don't even know. Now, all these guys that you're playing in front of it, especially when you had the TV show, and when Sha Na Na was, now you got your TV show and all that good stuff. Did you encounter the John Lennons, the fans of the music? You know,
Did you see John Lennon?
Jocko stood behind John Lennon when he sang "Give Peace a Chance" on Madison Square Garden. Did you know
I
that?
didn't know that.
He sat in front of him when he sang in 1972. Geraldo Rivera, Jerry Rivers. Don't tell Jerry I told you.
He was Jerry Rivers, yeah.
He was Jerry Rivers. But our kids
Islip High School.
Our kids went to the same high school in LA,
Yeah.
so I got to cut him a break. Harvard Westlake. Anyway, Geraldo Rivera was tight with John Lennon. And Geraldo Rivera's big claim to fame before his ABC, he was a local ABC guy, Willowbrook. Do you remember that?
Yeah, in Staten Island.
Yes. And there was a huge scandal because Willowbrook was a place where they sent, I guess, challenged kids and orphan kids. And it was run like an 1890s hellhole in
It
Staten
was a
Island.
mental institution.
I'm sorry.
It was a mental institution
Okay. But for kids or just for everybody?
for everyone, as far as I know.
Okay. But anyway, it was, he did an Eyewitness News.
Expose.
He broke in.
Thank you.
He basically broke into the gate and just had the camera show the conditions, and people were living in their own feces.
Yeah.
It was disgusting.
It was. I remember that expose. It was a big
It was
thing.
a big deal. It was bigger than his Al Capone vault.
It really was.
Yeah.
Which is the Al Capone.
This interview is bigger than his Al Capone vote.
It was big. And so he approached John Lennon in 72. I think this is all in 72. Said, let's do a benefit for Willowbrook. And, you know, just between us guys. And we'll make it an ABC TV show, and that's how we'll get it funded. And we'll bring in Phil Spector to sit in the truck to do the audio mix live.
Wow.
Phil, okay, you got John and Yoko and Elephant's Memory at the time. Do you remember them? They were a Bronx band. They were guys from the Bronx.
Saxophone. He had a whole big band, Lennon. Yeah.
Yeah, he had about a 6-piece band, sax, and the whole thing. And so they booked Madison Square Garden on a summer's night, and we got to do 2 shows because we got to make the money back. You know, ABC, but they want a test show in the afternoon. It's like any of these things, you know, they want 2 passes. 4 p.m. show, 8 p.m. show. John, who do you want on the show with you? Because you're only going to do an hour, and this has to be a 3-hour show. So we need 3 other acts to do 40 minutes each. And then we'll have a nice TV show hour featuring you for 20 minutes and these other acts for 10 minutes apiece. So he said, Stevie Wonder. Boom. Network approved Stevie Wonder. No problem. Superstition. Hello. Roberta Flack. Let's get Sha Na Na. They're kind of fun. We got a call from freaking John Lennon. Will you be on my show at the Garden? Where do I sign? Okay, we're the opening to all these other acts. But the last thing that happened at the 4 p.m. show was John puts on a leather jacket, and Elvis was his god. He really wanted to be Elvis, playing Hound Dog. And we go, it's the last song of the show. We'll just join the band. You know, we'll all filter on back onto the stage for the big finale. And it was like haphazard kind of thing. And when that show was over, Phil Spector came back to our dressing room and said, God, you guys play these songs too fast. I produced most of these songs. Will you slow down? I said, Phil, this is the way we play these songs. You know, anyway, it's not musical, guys. I need it for the truck. Okay, think about that recording. The end of the late show, the stage manager comes to us and says, before John even goes on, he says, stay around because at the end we want everybody to come up for that nice big like at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, everybody comes up. We want you all on stage. Fine. So we come on the stage. There were 2 Wurlitzer pianos stage left. Yoko's sitting at one like this. You see my feet?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And she's playing like this, literally. Just, I mean, in keeping with her singing, her playing was as good as her singing. No offense, Yoko. And John and she travel out throughout New York in a Woody station wagon, so they look like an old couple from Connecticut when they drove around the street. From the Dakota to wherever they were going, they had a green Woody station wagon, a Chevy 1974. I mean, it was just like...
We know who purchased that. We actually know the guy who purchased that.
Wait, let him finish the
Go
story,
ahead, finish.
Corey.
No, but I love the confirmation. Yes, this was like a historic car.
Yeah.
So, Hound Dog, Elephant's Memory, Stevie Wonder, Roberta Flack, all the Sha Na Na guys going nuts, looking for camera time. And
Yeah.
Yoko's bored stiff out of him. So she's obviously flailing away. Thank God they took, I sit down at the other Wurlitzer, which she had played Imagine on. And thank God they took her out of the monitor. Otherwise, really horrible. So she gets her feet under her, a minute and a half into Hound Dog, just off stage, into the car. She's done. She's ready to go. John, you know how big the Madison Square Garden stages are. 40 feet wide, 50 feet wide. He's stage right. I'm as far as you can be stage left, where Yoko had been sitting. He looks over at our side of the stage and goes, because the music's playing, I can't hear him. And I say, puts down his guitar, walks off stage. The band's still playing, the music's still going. I see the corrugated door opening and their car with them in it. It's gone. They're gone.
The Griswolds. They left the building.
He really had left the building.
He really left the building. That was the last time he played was that the last show? Was that the last time?
No, I think he had one more with Elton John.
He played with Elton, yeah, in '74.
Oh, okay. So that was before the Elton John thing. So that was okay.
72.
So the last 2 gigs Lennon played were at the Garden.
Mm-hmm.
And the last 38 gigs that Billy Joel played were at the Garden. But
Now, you think they got into the car and they got into an argument like, this is Sha Na Na, I wanted to play the songs with the guys? No, he was just like following Yoko, like, okay, Yoko. You don't think?
Let's not speculate on what they said to each other.
I know.
Miranda totally gets this.
Yeah, I like to make up stories in my head, like, I get to play with Sha.
Go there. Don't.
I know, but I want to know.
Not unless you're making it into a script and shooting it, and then
happy ending to that story.
No.
Hey, Scott, didn't they do? Wasn't the last song they did "Give Peace a Chance" on stage though, or is that just for the?
No, Hound Dog. I'm telling you, I was there.
Okay.
It was Hound Dog, huh?
Well,
that was it.
That's what he was so comfortable wearing a black leather jacket, singing Hound Dog. He was just the happiest guy in the world. And Yoko had to go.
She had to go. The wife has to go. Maybe they had to go grocery shopping. She had to go.
It was time to go.
Time to go. It's time to go. Parties. It's like me and Amber. When my wife says it's time to go.
I'm going to plug a book. I'm going to plug a book now, Stefan.
Yeah, go ahead.
Compiled by Marley Brandt, Tales of the Rock and Roll Highway. Available for 50 cents used on... what is Amazon or whatever that one of those giant things is. Tales of the Rock and Roll Highway. And that John Lennon story is written by me, along with my stories about playing with Chuck Berry, playing with Jerry Lee, and all these other people's stories. She solicited stories from everybody. There's a long story by the Jugaloo who's the band that has the Jugaloos or the Followers?
Insane Clown Posse.
Insane Clown Posse.
You're good, Corey. So you remember.
They write very lucidly about what it's like to be in the Insane Clown Posse.
I thought that was Ralph Nader.
Hey, Scott, I want to ask you a question. When the show came along, Bowser, John Bauman, right? He became the breakout star, but he wasn't originally in the group.
Correct.
And
he joined after me. He joined when Alan Cooper left in the summer of 70. Again, Henry Gross and Joe Whitkin left in March. We went over this while you were away, Corey.
Yeah, we got to do the show over for Corey. It's okay. It's okay.
Start over for Corey.
Yeah, we'll edit this out and Corey.
So that piano player and the lead guitar player left the band. I joined as a piano player. A guy named Billy Cross, who later played with Dylan, very nice guy, filled in on guitar until we finally came to Vinnie Taylor, but that's another story. And Alan Cooper was class of 71, not class of 70. So he had one more year to go to Columbia, and he had promised his girlfriend, listen to this, Miranda. The guy who sang At the Hop in the movie Woodstock, the most visually famous guy in the band, along with the 3 gold dancers, had promised to take his girlfriend to Europe. Nice Jewish girl. He was a nice Jewish boy. She said, "You're not staying with the band. You promised me Europe." Yoko.
To bring it back to Yoko.
So he left. Bauman joined June 1st. He had been a basso profundo glee clubber, and Gino Elliott Kahn, at the time the musical director when the band started, said, "I know this guy. You only wanted Columbia guys. You wanted me, and you wanted Billy Cross, who was at Columbia. You only wanted your own people. You didn't want to venture into the real world. God knows what those people are like. Real musicians." So Bauman was from Columbia. I was from Columbia. Billy Cross was from Columbia. Everybody that came into the band at that time, except that Jocko knew Lenny Baker, who had played with the Pilgrims, big sax player.
Yeah.
Big personality, great sax player, great singer.
Mm-hmm.
My own brother-in-law, my ex-brother-in-law, who would come see the band at the Fillmore West because he lived in the Bay Area. The only guy he liked, and he would tell me this, I like Lenny. Lenny's the real thing. Which we weren't. We were posers. We were Ivy League guys. We had IQs above 102.
Did you guys, though, resent the fact that this Johnny-come-lately guy gets all the fame, and now he's the one who won't come back and reunite with you guys?
That's a false premise statement.
Go ahead.
One of your questions. This is one of your questions you don't know how to ask.
Yeah, that's right.
You know exactly who Corey is. Good job, Scott.
I told him before the show. That's it. Yeah.
He outed him.
Oh, okay.
Bauman left the group in 1983 saying to Lenny, "You guys are ruining my show. This is a 10-man act. You guys are ruining my show." And he went off to be on Match Game PM and a VH1 jock. Mm-hmm. And by 9 months later, he was in Atlantic City with the Bowser Rock and Roll Review doing his own thing. He was too big for the group. Maybe you heard of David Lee Roth. Maybe you heard of
David
1,000 other people I could name. You know, that the group goes on within him and without him, but he hasn't been in Sha Na Na for 37 years. He was only in the group for 12 years. So there was a life left in the group without the Bowser character. He took the Bowser character, we took the group. And that was fine. You know, somebody had, the nature of the beast is somebody's the leader. Usually it's the guy with the biggest mouth.
Yeah.
He had the biggest mouth.
Yeah. Chuck Berry. I want to know about this.
Yes.
Chuck Berry comes. I want to hear the story about Chuck Berry when you got the jam with him and all that.
It wasn't a jam. I mean, basically, the way the TV show was constructed, if you had a 3-minute record, Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive.
Disco. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Now, they didn't bring their tracks. They didn't bring their bands. The Ramones brought their band, but Gloria Gaynor brought Gloria Gaynor and her conductor. And he came to our, you see, the way that most music is done for film and TV is you pre-record the tracks, you pre-record the background vocals. That's one track. The other track is the lead vocalist who's going to be seen singing live. You don't want him lip syncing. That's people singing along to their records was what made Dick Clark's show so boring. When a guest would come on, they play the record and the guy's lip syncing. But I have news for you. When John Travolta sings Sandy, he was lip syncing too. They can't risk the video on the audio. So when Leslie Gore came on to sing You Don't Own Me, who's the guest this week? Leslie Gore. Here's your sheet music. And the musical directors of our show, Ray Charles, not the blind Ray Charles, the deaf Ray Charles. And his
James
son,
Brown was great.
And his son, John Charles, would come on and say, here's Leslie Gore's sheet music. You got to play this. And we'd have to play it. When Chuck Berry came on, which was your question, and Chuck Berry's coming on the show to sing Roll Over Beethoven, judged by Rolling Stone, one of his top 10 performances ever videoed, Roll Over Beethoven with Sha Na Na. They didn't trust Chuck, and they were right not to conform to a pre-recorded track. Now you're going to do a verse. Now you're going to do an instrumental. You're going to do your record, right? But you're not going to tell Chuck Berry what to play and when to play it. You're going to say, Chuck, try to keep it under 3 minutes. And so there was a live piano. I'm playing live piano on that track. I'm playing my ass off on that track. It's for Chuck.
Wow.
So with Chuck and Bo Diddley, the other act, that you couldn't count on Bo to know he was going to play 18 bars of dunk, 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 dunk. Okay, Chuck, 4 more bars. Oh, you gotta go to the verse now, Chuck.
Yeah.
I mean, Bo. No. Those are the only 2 acts that played live music.
James Brown didn't play live?
No, he played to track, and in fact, he gave Jocko the biggest compliment of his life because James sent his sheet music. I mean, James knew about bars of music and how many bars of music are in the intro and how many bars of music are to the verse. And he knew exactly. He did, I don't know, I can't remember the cut that he did with us. Yeah. But if he was going to sing I Feel Good, he was going to sing the record.
Yeah.
And that's what he did with us, whatever song he sang. James comes on the set. Here's James Brown. I'm comping organ because, again, you're not seeing me play live. You're just seeing me play along to the track and look like I'm playing live. I'm on stage. James, just before he went on to do the actual taping, listens to the track, looks up, says, who's the drummer? Jocko starts shaking in his boots because somehow out of all this whole track, James has a question about the drumming. Who's the drummer? That guy. It's that, not me, James. It's that guy. Looks at Jocko, says, solid.
Wow.
Awesome.
And Jocko will tell that story. If he were here, he'd tell you the James.
I wish he was here. Yeah. That's
If only he were.
In any case,
Yeah.
When you see James Brown and you're 4 feet, and I've seen him many times live in my life, but when you're 4 feet away from him, I'm literally at the organ, and he's literally on the other side of the organ. When he hits his dance move, it's like a revelation. It's like being behind the magician, watching the magician do his trick. So he was a notable. I mean, how many people have had James Brown, Chuck Berry, guests on our show, the Ramones, and people said, "Oh, jump the shark." The Ramones. That wasn't believable that Sha Na Na had the Ramones on. What do you mean? They're wearing black leather jackets and blue jeans. And what are you talking about? So, we were a variety show that hosted the very top stars in our field, and they were guests on our show. And then we'd go out and play with them at Rich Nader's rock and roll revivals.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and click on the box right here on your screen for our next episode. Who loves you, baby? We do.